Show, and right in the studio today I have Mr. Charlie Shaw, special guest. Thank you, man, for coming in.
No, thank you, bro. After that workout that we did this morning, I didn't think I was gonna make it, but we got through it
You
as
saw
we
me
always
hobbling
do.
in here late. No, proud of you, man. I saw you busting your butt this morning. So
You as well. You as well. It's always a pleasure working out with you guys at 8 o'clock. I'm usually on 9, but we had to get some things done today, so we got in there early.
yeah, there's a lot of people weren't doing what we were doing this morning. That's for sure.
I'm not at 8
So
o'clock.
yeah, and that's another show. But Charlie's in here today, and he's telling me about his. He's got a new podcast coming out, and he can tell us about it right now.
Appreciate you, man. Well, as you know, I had a previous podcast, or well, it was season 1. That podcast was called Lil Mel Unfiltered. I started that back in January. Right after I got myself situated after retiring in September of 24. Basically, it was about motivating and inspiring others to do great things. I was interviewing folks that you know out in the community and their employment. However, they can motivate other people. I wanted to talk to them to see if we can get them to, on the show and do more of that on a broader sense. Well, the show that I just renamed is basically the same concept, and that show is going to be called Pure Elite, and you'll be able to find that show just like you found my last show. Um, and I'm really excited about it. So you were asking me, what does it read?
Well, yeah, and because I had asked you about it a little bit before the show started. Now, Pure Read for the listeners, that's Arete.
Right.
It is is it a system?
Yeah, it's Arete is a ancient Greek term that signifies excellence. And anytime that both of us was in leadership roles when we were working in our respective law enforcement agencies, me being in U.S. Marshals and Orange County, such as yourself, um, we want to motivate our people. We want to show good leadership. So I was reading something that I'm doing now while I'm retired, and I came across that word to read, and it explains best of what I'm trying to seek for myself and also bring out in others. It represents the ideal of reaching one's highest potential and striving for perfection in all endeavors of life and profession. Um, Enhancing a restate of mind means committing to personal and professional excellence, continuously seeking to improve oneself or help improve others through living a life that reflects the highest standards and integrity, skills, and dedication to yourself and others.
So it really encompasses all aspects of leadership in businesses, and no matter what they are, uh, it seems like the concept's going to be the same as far as being good leaders.
Right. Well, actually, just a good person overall.
Bingo.
Just a good person overall. You know, I think we've lost. I'm not going to say all of us, but I think that a lot of people have lost that, where they're just accepting what it is right now when they have the capacity to be better each day. Like we strive to improve ourselves each and every day. So I just want to bring it back and remind folks, hey man, you got greatness in you, man. You
Oh,
know,
people do need to be reminded of
right?
that. So is that how do you think that's important in today's society?
Well, when you look at the grand scheme of things, when you're talking about it being in society, one can say, okay, so let's say in society, let's say something as easy as just going out to eat. All
Right.
right. The person that's waiting on you, for example, listen, they know that you're paying top dollar for that hamburger.
That
You're sitting down.
$18 hamburger
Right.
today.
They know that you're paying top dollar for it. They didn't have to, come to your restaurant. So why not, show them that you appreciate them. Make sure that everything that they're ordering, I'm not saying kiss their butt or anything, but just show them the
It's the
respect,
respect.
the respect of, hey, thank you for coming into my shop. Or when we're talking along the lines of our profession, law enforcement, everybody knows that we have to, everybody knows that what our jobs are. Well, majority of people know what our jobs are.
Right.
And with that respect, we provide a service to the community. We should be excellent across the board, even when we're putting handcuffs on a person.
Right.
We should show
Absolutely.
that person respect, and because there's no reason for error when you're looking at that in a grand scheme of things. If you're professional across the board,
Right.
what can you argue?
Yeah, and it should be nothing personal ever.
Nothing personal.
Yeah, and it's like when I think I was talking about a video earlier where it looked like an incident got personal. It's like, you know,
Right.
but yeah. So as far as the Arete system, is that how do you incorporate that into your daily life?
Well, good thing. When you're incorporating the read into your daily life, I would, practice steps, creating growth growth orientation into your environment, encouraging others to, strive towards strive towards greatness. Like for example, we work out, we do the CrossFit.
Right.
Um, we're pushing each other each and every day,
Mm-hmm.
each and every day, or even through exercises. You
Right.
know, hey Charlie, let's get up the wall. Hey Kev, we got to carry this thing another 400 meters, man.
Yep. 6 months ago, that wasn't happening like that. But yeah, it's that concept and the encouragement and the teaching.
Right. It's cultivating just as a person waters a garden.
Right. It's a good analogy.
Yeah. The reason why you're watering a garden, you plant a seed in that garden, right? Okay. So you're expecting to, harvest something, within a few weeks or months. Well, that needs sunshine, needs water, needs nourishments.
And
You have to apply these things, and sometimes we forget those ingredients. Or sometimes a person don't know the proper ingredients. You're
well,
gonna have to take time out. You may have to take time out as a leader or as a friend. That's not just that's on a leadership side of it. That's business, but on a personal level, you sometimes you may have to remind a person. A lot of times we don't want to remind our friends that, hey man, you can do great things. You can do whatever you want to do. You're just gonna have to put the work in and apply it. Well, I don't know how. Well, you know
right.
what? Maybe I know how. Maybe I can share with you. Or maybe we can find out together.
And do you think you have to tweak things based on generational differences?
Oh, of course.
Because
I'm glad you brought that up.
mm-hmm.
We're I'm not gonna use that Twilight thing, but we finished our career, correct?
Correct.
Right. And what we're doing right now is we're podcasting. We don't have to do this.
Nope.
But the reason why we're doing this is because maybe we still got some things that we want to be, want to inform people of. Well, the reason why I created Peer Read, and I'm also doing speaking engagements, and I also do training, is because I still have that knowledge that someone shared with me many moons ago,
Right.
and I find it necessary that I return that. Each one teach one. So
Mm-hmm.
with the next generation of folks that's coming up, my specialty is law enforcement. If I can help groom or provide, some of my knowledge and keep learning, then maybe the people coming up behind me may ask me some questions, or how would they go about when you're a supervisor, what did you do in this situation, or how would you handle this person, or how would you handle this scenario? So I feel it necessary for my own personal growth, and also for the growth of others, is to try to develop a podcast, training materials, maybe even
Oh,
books at one time, maybe even little manuals or books on trying to help
Yes.
the ones that's coming up behind me.
Okay, now I'm going to tell you, I went on an old man rant just a few days ago talking about what you're hitting on, and as far as sharing your knowledge,
Right,
like back in the day, I don't know, maybe like 8, 9 year uh, deputy or officer, there was a you run into older guys, and everybody wanted to like write a book. I
right,
think a couple of them did. I think I've
right.
read a couple of them. One of them was called like 10-8, or I remember it's like that was just the thing, and then we progressed. Like during that process, I never thought that, hey, we will be retired. Like you didn't even think about retirement, to
Didn't
be
even think
honest.
about it.
Yeah,
It
but
was so
now,
far out.
yeah, but now look, there's the book turns into podcasts, which is a lot easier than writing a book.
Right.
And what I find that as far as teaching things, like you have so much to teach.
You as
You,
well.
yeah,
You're talking about in general?
yeah, just
Yeah.
in general, like sometimes you see things that, oh man, why did they do that? Like because you 9 times out of 10 you've been through it, or at
Oh
least
yeah.
you've seen it.
Oh yeah.
And I don't think that knowledge should be wasted, because there was a day where on a date, the book of what to do used to be this big,
Right.
and then it got like super big, and then it turned into a disc that nobody ever looked at.
Right. Right.
So people just got dumber. I'm just going to say it. Sorry, people got dumber because it was easier to ask than to go to the computer. It's not the kind of job where you go, hey, let me go look. Nobody's going to type that up.
Right.
They're not going to do it. It's like you either know it or you don't.
Right. Right. Right.
But when they start doing that and they start making the information less accessible,
Mm-hmm.
it seems like it's more accessible, but it's not. So you have people going, when you see some of the mistakes and just stupid things that people do, and some malicious things people do, it sounds crazy, but it's like, I think the newer generation, especially, they need to be told, like, don't don't double dip in your off duty kind of thing, or they have to be told what not to do specifically because they don't understand the whole totality of it.
Well, Kev, you know as well as I do, man. Policy is written because of
Somebody's
things,
name.
some things that people have done or made those mistakes. So we're we're not going to beat up those who fail,
No,
because the way I've been looking at things the last few years, and I've read a few things. Failure is fine.
yes, if you learn from it,
Right.
especially.
And when you learn from something, you actually fail forward. You didn't fail backwards, you fail forward. And
There you
as long
go.
as if you failing forward, you had you had the capacity to learn from your mistake.
Absolutely.
And that's what peer read is all about. Hey, you can learn so much if you open your eyes and listen. You had 2 ears, listen with both of them. You had 2 eyes, listen with both of them. Speak. You had one mouth. Be careful what comes out of your mouth. Be careful how you use the words that come out of your mouth.
Absolutely.
And if you're going to use those words, make sure that those words are words that's going to better yourself and better others.
Yeah, and you touched on your podcast. Like I said, just treating people with respect, which you just
Right.
covered. Just the general, uh, employees need to feel like their input is valued.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like, I mean, I'll say, tell me more about uh, the challenges of incorporating your program into the daily lives of individuals, and like I was kind of giving my little example, like it's instilling that in their like state of mind. Like this is how do you make people like aware of just of their surroundings, and doing the right thing, and how it looks 2 hours from now.
Right.
And it's kind of like, I know we're covering a broad topic there, but there's very little, I don't hear about too many true management. That's kind of like, I like what you're doing, because the true management podcast of just down to earth,
Mm-hmm.
just what it is.
Right. Right. Right.
So how do you instill that to what I would like to call, like, some people are like, just, I don't call them dumbasses, but they're unaware. They're unaware, and they make life hard on themselves.
I'll rather use words unaware than dumbasses, because everybody has potential to to make themselves aware of growth. But yeah, sometimes they do represent dumbasses.
Yeah,
But
we've all been dumbasses
right,
here and there.
right.
I've kicked myself many times. I'm damn, I was a dumbass, and you can recover, but you learn. It's okay to be a dumbass if you learn.
Well, first off, I'd like to say that with me after retiring, I went on transformation, and that was with for my personal success. I did well in my employment. I was happy with it, but I was also seeking to um, improve my health,
Mm-hmm.
um, improve my mindset on things outside of my previous employment, because we get cloudy. We get really cloudy when all we're doing is focusing on work. And I found myself just focusing on that, and I wasn't taking care of myself. I posted some pictures of my transformation and weight loss, and I'm still working on that. I'm still work in progress, and I'm happy with that because I'm seeing the fruits of the labor. So, with that being said, you got to set personal goals and align it with your own values. Um, when you're pursuing self improvement, got to live ethically.
Yes.
You have to live ethically. There's one thing that you should never lose is those ethic that you have that's been instilled in you, and dedicate yourself to what you're trying to achieve in your journey or transformation, and strive for excellence in all the areas that lead to fulfillment and balance. Balance is very important. Balance in your life is very important, and that's something that I noticed that I wasn't doing last year. I wasn't
Oh,
balancing.
yes, I agree. I wasn't doing it either
Right.
because you just get so caught up.
You get caught up, and I shared all this with you and didn't really know you, but we connected once we found out that we had a background. And I was like, hey, man, you're a year out. What did you do? And I was, I saw that you pretty much did the same thing that I was seeking. You realized that there were some things that you needed to improve, and you got in the gym, and you set yourself a podcast, and
Yeah.
I didn't know.
No, I didn't know you can reset the clock,
Yeah, you can reset it.
and it's to your abilities, and you may not be able to run a 40 and
We're not trying.
yeah, exactly, but just the concept of being able to run again,
Right.
and everything that the coaches instill in you is a major leadership role. It kind of encompasses a lot of what your podcast is about, because it's hard to teach old dog new tricks, and they pull it off.
Yeah, but you know what? If you lead me to some water, man, I'm drinking it.
Yeah. Hey, I told there's a couple people. Well, I've been out of state a handful of times, and ever since that little transformation page that you were talking about, I'm sure people, hey, look at this guy. I remember when you got there around Christmas, and you're talking on 4 or 5 months. You look like a different person. One girl told me that the second picture looked like, the first picture you look like the other guy's father. I was like, oh, I guess that's a huge compliment, but you could tell, like, the second picture, the transformation.
I'm sorry to belly laugh.
No, it's true. Like, the second picture, you're super happy, you're smiling. The first picture was just like, it's
Grumpy
like
old man.
But yeah, it's like you thought you were happy, but it was clear that when you look at like your facial expression, your bodies, and what you were doing, like the second guy it's a different guy.
Right.
It's not the same guy.
Well, whoever told you that, I appreciate it.
Yeah, it actually was. It was the person you saw me talking to yesterday.
Oh, okay. Oh, the new brand new one.
Yeah, just
really.
Yeah, I was just telling her about the people transforming in gym. That was like most recent, but yeah, other than that, I've been.
Well, it's funny.
I've been up north saying the same thing. So.
Right. It's funny you said that because I think Devin put me on there to show. Hey, look at this guy, man. Anybody can do it.
It's crazy because
people know that was good marketing for them.
That wasn't like a year transformation. That was only a few months. Like, you've been coming in here killing it.
It was 6 months.
Yeah, I remember the first time when you came in. Like, we had a handful of people. Like, who's willing to commit to it, which
Right.
is a lot of like there's some people that come in is like, okay, we're gonna see this guy or this girl again, and they might come out 2 or 3 times, and then
Taking bets
they're
over
gone.
and
Yeah.
under.
And I'm like, I didn't even know you. I'm like, he's back. Oh, he's here. He's like, there was that consistency. He's like,
Yeah.
oh, this is somebody who's taking it seriously,
Right.
because a lot of people just like they think they're gonna come in with that. I'm going to date myself with the 80s and 90s mentality of, oh, I'm going to still, it's like,
Right.
dude, you're not that person. Whatever you think you are, you're not that person
You're
anymore.
not that dude anymore.
Yeah.
You know, I get kind of sad when I see somebody start, because since I've been there,
Right.
there's been some people that started and they haven't come back, and I get kind of sad about that, man, because the journey, we're all in the same journey.
Yeah, and they won't stay around for that support system.
Man, we're here.
Yeah, because you trust me, I couldn't do the stuff we did today a year ago. That wasn't happening.
Oh, that'll cancel a lot of people membership. That what we did today.
But it's like you try not to let them get their asses handed to them on the first day.
Right.
And it's like it gets back to the leadership thing. Like you want people. It's like that realization that I'm not in the shape that I thought I was in, and I'm not in high school anymore. I'm not in my 20s, and to be honest, to do 3 deep knee bends might lay me up for a while. It's hard to come to terms with that, but you got to go back.
You got to come back, and it don't bite that hard. It bites a little bit. We got to admit it. It do bite. It bites a little bit, but it's not anything that you can't get through.
Well, in your system in this podcast, as far as getting your that motivation to come back,
right?
And you can apply to management also, like as far as your employees, like just to have them want to come in and perform a task for you.
Well, myself, I managed a great bunch of guys, and there was a lot of days where I had to encourage them, even when I didn't want to be encouraged, or even when I was down. I had to encourage them. Hey, look, man, we got to stay in this. We got to keep looking for the bad guys. We got to stay on top of these protection details. We got to stay on top of these extraditions. So my thing was listen, we're in the moment right now, but this isn't forever.
Yep.
And a lot of, you have to build that culture with folks to let them know that you are their support system, that you are here for them. You understand what they're going through, because every day is not a bed of roses.
Yeah. And I hate to stereotype management, but we were talking earlier, there's a difference between like entry-level management, middle management, and upper management. They're so different. And I think as far as you further up the ladder, the more detached you normally become. We had a few cool supervisors that were up there, but they still were relatable. They didn't forget where they came from. I think that's the part that I would say rubbed me the wrong way as far as being in management. Like some of the people, like, I remember you when you started. So this guy or girl made the same mistake that you did in a different era.
And you beating them up.
Yeah, and you're beating them up and acting like you don't understand. I don't subscribe to that point of view, because I still remember, like, you can act like you forgot it because you took some tests and everything, but you're not infallible.
No, you're not. You have your fouls.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough. Throughout my entire career, even with the military, that I had good managers that weren't totally like that. If they made a mistake, hey, look, I made a bad call on that one. I'll get it better. So that's my attitude. But I have had some that they ain't admitting to nothing.
No.
But guess what? I ain't stay in those operations very long, because I knew that wasn't for me.
Right.
You may. I remember. I'm not going to say which job. It was one of those. It was one of those divisions where everybody wanted to get into. I got there and realized, man, you know what? The grass really isn't that green on this over here on this side. It was because of the culture.
Right.
The culture is what made me like, I bust my butt to get here, and these people don't even care about the program. They're just here taking up a space. I don't think anyone should just be in a position just to take up a space.
or not leave when their time is up and continue to
You
occupy
have
that
that
space.
also. You have that also.
And I question how effective of a manager do you think you are if you're just not leaving a spot and you should? Like everybody, it's a consensus that you've done your time. Like I'm talking to people that are losing money working. Like
Oh yeah.
like if you retired, you would make more money than if you still stayed employed. It's like how effective do you think you are, or did you just not plan your life correctly, or just the ability of not having to be somebody anymore?
Well, until a person tell me why they're staying around, I don't want to assume. But you know what? We're pretty sharp, man. We're called investigators. We know that a lot of people just stick around because they don't want, don't have anything else planned.
Yeah, that's all they
Hey,
know.
you know what? That's too bad for them because there's a lot of life out here. There's a lot of living out here, and
Mhm.
everything shouldn't be so focused on your employment. But while you're in there, be the best and do the best and do the best by your people. Don't just sit on a position just because you can.
What I noticed, and it's not just where I worked at. It literally. I've talked to different entities and different counties because everybody thinks, in just the law enforcement community, I'm just going to say uh, there's a understanding, but people don't realize that as far as being in management is pretty consistent, but actually what you do from county to county or city to city, no one operates the same. They have different, where we're at right now, there's different codes and that, like there's no general consensus overall about like call signs and 10 codes and certain procedures and ordinances and stuff. It's like,
Want to operate in their
yeah,
own zone.
yeah, everybody's different. That whole individuality thing where we're like, I remember back in the day, we were looking like we were sitting there watching some screwed up uh, taser incident. Like it sparked a lot of conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as being a bunch of managers sitting around talking, and we're like, well, how come? I'll give you a law enforcement example. It's like it was a taser incident.
Mm-hmm.
That how come when it was like at a Wendy's or something? I think it happened in Georgia,
Right.
and it was like this guy got in a scuffle. One officer picked up the taser that apparently was on him and started running,
Right.
and turned around and shot some darts. And don't think it
The
hit
guy
anybody.
or the officer?
The guy,
Okay.
the guy running, he kind of did this, and the officer shot him, and I think he killed him. So the argument, it wasn't an argument, it was actually a discussion. It's like, well, why is a taser non-lethal when you use it, but it's lethal when somebody else uses it?
Mm. Mm. Interesting.
Yeah, interesting. It's like and it's like, and everybody's policy is different, but it sparks conversation because law enforcement is pretty much gauged by even the management styles based on the community.
Yeah.
Problems here, problems there. Like there's certain, you're not going to police the same in Waveland, Mississippi as you are freaking
Orlando, Florida.
or yeah, it's like it's not the same beast, but it's the same job. But it's just, once again, things that happen state to state, county to county,
Mm-hmm.
even city to city, they're different. Like the use of force,
just by the way you govern, also.
Yeah. So how do you? It's like, how do you manage that? Because it's always different.
Well, it sounds more of a policy and procedure question that you're implying, that you're directing toward me. But it also sounds like a cultural police in the culture of that particular area. Um, I've always had the luxury of working for larger departments.
Right.
Um, not saying anything, not putting it in a negative sense of how small town USA manage their police force, because they're going to have a lot of reasons why use of force is more prevalent than in larger places. And larger places are going to probably have the reverse response to that.
Yeah, call it Andy Griffith police work.
Yeah, yeah. But it all goes back to culture also. When you mention how can you apply a read in your personal life, those everything focuses back on how you treat people. When I say when you apply when we were talking about personal, now we're talking about business or policing. It all focuses back on how you treat people. And what I found also is how are you communicating with folks?
Bingo. That's huge.
How are you communicating with people in your town? Are you only communicating with people that like you or in interests, culture, race, ethnicity? Do you have that makeup for all those? Do you have that makeup on your force? Um, are you engaging with your religious leaders, your business owners?
Right.
Are you going out to the schools, making sure that the younger generation see you not just as a protector or a threat,
Right.
but someone that they can actually come up to you and say, "Hey, you know what? I looked at when I was growing up. I didn't look at police as threats. I looked at. I
Exactly.
told you before. I saw Deputy Friendly. I know that
We used to
we
run
had
out to
them
the
in.
road. If
Yeah,
you could see cars coming from where I
right.
used to live. We used to run out to the
Yeah,
road so we could just wave to a
right.
cop car
And they'll
driving
hear,
by.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's a lot of it has to do with culture. Are police officers getting out? Are they getting out of their squad cars? Are they
Yeah.
walking around the neighborhoods?
The answer
Are
is no, people. No.
well,
Well, and I say that, but it's funny that you say that because that was like a pet peeve of mine before because
mhm,
I've seen it. Like
right.
I stopped. It's one of his stories, and I would say, stop me if you heard it before. But yeah, one evening I was we were on a lake hall, and I stopped by this little convenience store to play a lottery number and get a soda.
Right, right, right.
And when I walked in there, the guy was like, the clerk was like, he's like, you could tell that look in his face. He was like, no police just ever walked in there to say, hey, how are things going?
Right.
Or this and that. He was always associated with something bad.
Hmm.
And I'm like, well, maybe, and don't get me wrong, I get the whole community policing thing and
Hmm.
it's cool. I think a lot of people today, they do uh, things that we used to do back in the day, like before the internet or before everything turned into like what seemingly is a photo op.
Right, right,
Yeah,
right.
I mean, I've known people that, as far as maybe being an officer, maybe they didn't have the best reputation,
Hmm.
uh, or
Are you
just,
talking agency or are you talking about
I'm
the
just,
individual
I'm talking
officer?
like individual
Okay.
officers, whether they have rank or not. But even if they didn't have rank, they're still in a managerial position
Right,
when you're dealing with the public. You're
right, right.
still an authoritative figure.
That's being recognized as such.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the decisions that you make, they do influence other people. But yeah, you just see these people, and it's like I've also seen that guy, like, or girl in some cases, feed the homeless, like reach in their pocket and say, hey, here's some money, go get yourself something to eat because it's cold
Man,
outside. It's like, you know,
I see. We both work with officers that don't engage in with the public and their the area that they patrol.
yeah, it
I
turns into those people.
Yeah, I made every effort to go to the gas station where our printers weren't.
Right.
I parked in those parking lots. Now, granted, those are high crime areas that aren't always frequent, but I did make an effort to show that we have a presence, and or the grocery store that not everybody went to. I made an effort, but that's just my individual
Your background, where you came
behavior,
from,
right?
you know.
My individual behavior. I would encourage any officers that's listening or future officers that's listening to this podcast is engage your community.
Yeah.
Engage
You,
your community. It's just that simple. No, we know you. We know for a fact that you don't work. You don't live in the same community that you patrol.
Nope. And if you do, you get the side eye unless you live in somewhere really nice and you get to patrol somewhere really
Right,
nice.
right. We
But
know that you don't live in those areas,
yeah,
but that's all the more reason why you should engage the people in those areas.
yeah. And that's when I think when I got hired, it was kind of one of those. And these people were managers, but it's kind of I call it a detachment. I mean, you can be a good manager, but still be detached. And I hope, uh, as far as bringing people back into the fold,
Hmm.
because even in some training modules that we used to go through, like if I'm just going to use it as an example, because if a white officer can go to an all black area, that officer, as presented in the presentation,
Right.
was in a area full of minorities. He wasn't a minority. He was in an area full of minorities.
No, he is the minority.
Yeah, but and you see how things change because
Well, like we mentioned earlier, language is very very powerful, and you have to watch what comes out of your mouth.
yeah,
Now, I understand that they were trying to identify geographically where you're at
yeah,
or demographically where you're at for the masses, but no, you are from that area, so you are the
yeah,
minority,
yeah. You're the
and you
outsider.
right, just like what anybody want to come here and be a citizen, they immerse themselves into the culture of this country, which means that they learn how to live here. Well, when if you're a patrol officer, you have to learn the ways of that community. We have
we
this area that we live in, and many areas around our great nation. Um, there's there's different cultures. Like I worked in Miami.
all right.
You know how many different
Yeah,
Spanish communities there?
yeah.
So,
Well, Orlando
and
got to
they're
be
all
that way.
different. And
Yeah,
you have little Haiti, you have community, Cuban community,
I had to break.
Jamaican
Hey,
community.
hey, back in the day, I had to break up almost like a knockdown drag out between one of the guys I worked with and a prisoner, and it wasn't really a good guy bad guy thing.
Mhm.
One was Cuban and one was Puerto Rican.
You even have it in the prisons
Yeah, and
where you have to, jail officials have to do interviews of the prisoners before they come in because they may be involved in gangs. They may
everybody's
have some
got a
prejudice.
category.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so you have to know who you're dealing with. And how are you going to learn that just, well, I'm waiting for a call and then you
Well,
deal with it then? No, you go to hey, all these homeowner associations, they have meetings at least once a month in those different communities. And then
yeah,
you got the rec centers. Why don't you go in the rec center for a moment?
well,
You know?
well, in every supervisory, everything that we're talking about leads back to a supervisor in charge of a certain thing. Like
Right.
everything
A
morphs in it.
sector.
Yeah, well, and just stick with law enforcement. Like people don't get, if you get sucked up in it, law enforcement changes daily.
Every day.
It is not a
It's changed since we left.
yes, 100%
Yeah.
it's changed. It's like because it's not. Always has. If you don't stick your head up out of that hole and look around,
Hmm.
the stuff that you were doing 6 months ago is already outdated.
Right. Right.
It's not acceptable. It's not acceptable behavior.
Right.
And your management is, you always try to, being mid-level, you're kind of like being a bad guy. It's like
Hmm.
everything that comes down from the top, whether the upper crust has a stupid idea or something down here is like, well, this is changing. You might have to change the way you're doing it because one thing cops don't like coming from management
Right.
is change.
Well, this is why I like talking to you about this about the subject of policing, is because we both got different views on it.
Mm.
Um, I see I see and hear what you're saying, and my perspective of it is I was middle management, and I don't look at myself as being a bad guy. I look at myself as providing information that the organization wants, and having those meetings with the organization, being at that table with the organization, and knowing what they're trying to get. Well, I've had those conversations where you're not going to get it like that.
No, exactly.
Allow me to approach it a different way, and I can get you the same results.
Right.
And that's what Pure Read's all about. You know, you can get the same results by applying different techniques, but you're only going to get those results if you communicating and you're applying. You have to communicate with people. The
Yes.
guys aren't going to want to do everything that the bosses want you
Yeah.
to do.
You mean it's not just an email?
No,
That's horrible.
No. You're going to have to apply some different techniques, and that's another reason why you need to know your staff, know the community that you're dealing with. Not everybody's just going to blindly follow you.
No.
If you think everybody's going to blindly follow you, I'm sorry, that's not going to happen.
And that shouldn't be what you want as a manager.
Pardon me?
You shouldn't want that as a manager.
No, and then there's another one I'm going to disagree with you on. A lot of managers feel like that's the way it is. I'm the boss, and that's the way it's going to go. No, you can get what you want, but it's not going to be what you want.
Right. And there's the aftermath.
Right.
Because it can't come off the wrong way. Like, I think one of the best supervisors some of the best supervisors I've had, because I've had a lot of great supervisors, and even what I would call bad supervisors, you got to learn from them too.
Right.
That's some things that you wouldn't incorporate in your management style versus certain things you would. But one thing that I knew I was running into a good manager if I was doing something and performing a task and I did not want to disappoint them.
Right.
Now that I was afraid. Yeah, I didn't want to. You don't want to disappoint them because they literally treated you so well and you work together. It's like
if you're a manager that can get your staff to feel bad when they disappoint you.
Yeah, you're
doing
there.
Something right.
Yes,
you're doing something
absolutely in there.
You can get more honey. How is it? You can get more ants with honey or whatever it is. Somebody.
We'll Google it and get back to you, folks.
Or somebody email me after they see the show and give me some good analogies.
But it's true though.
Yeah.
It makes employees want to feel good,
right?
And if you don't give them that, like if you think they're replaceable cogs, you're going to get a lot of what we see in these articles, whether it be in law enforcement or just regular business, because you're not disposable. That
right.
I think coming in the conversation, like the person that flips the burgers at McDonald's deserves just as much respect as a CEO of a company. And,
they do.
Because they do more for you than that CEO will.
Or they will.
Yeah.
So I show, if anybody listening that knows me and work with me, they know that I speak to everybody, from the person that comes in and cleans my spaces to the boss.
Yeah.
Everybody's important. All this is a moving part. Treat people how you want to be treated, with respect.
Yeah, and don't dare think that they don't know more than you about certain things.
No,
you don't know everything about everything.
No, you don't know no more than you only know what you know.
Right. And management also has the flaw, I would say, is that you have all these great resources around you and you don't have to know everything.
You don't.
It's okay to go, well, Charlie's an expert at this. Let me ask him this so I can I can do my job a little better instead of going, I'm not going to ask because I don't want to show that I don't know as much as you. That kind of bull crap that always kind of makes a shitty manager.
I had the luxury of moving around to different departments, and I wasn't boots on the ground in a couple different departments. But over time, because of my leadership skills, I was able to learn what you guys are doing and apply my leadership to help you with your overall mission.
Right.
I don't have to know everything. You're the subject expert on it. Show me how you guys been doing it, and then it takes a lot to tell people, hey man, I don't know everything, man. Yeah. I was chosen to come over here and lead you guys.
Well, I don't know who you supervise, but I can tell by the way you talk, like when you left, people were sad. That is another mark of a good supervisor.
I appreciate my men and women, man. I'm not gonna lie. I know that sounds cliche, but I really did appreciate them. And it was hard for me to move on
Yeah.
because it was something that I've known, you know,
And you feel like you're
for
abandoning somebody and
no, never felt abandoned. Never,
really?
no, because I've been in this game long enough to know that next up, no one's abandoned. Next up, but what I did feel was, okay, that camaraderie is done. That chapter of my life
Right.
is done. And whenever you open and close chapters, well, whenever you close one, am I going to open up another one? And we
Yeah.
talked on this before, where it felt weird that I don't have two cell phones.
Yeah.
Nobody's bugging me about this, bugging me about that. I had
Yeah.
to, what's my worth now?
Hmm.
Well, hey man, I found out that I'm very valuable.
I remember the first time I needed a laptop. Like I don't have a laptop anymore. The first time I lost my freaking personal phone in the house.
Right. You didn't have another phone to call.
Dude, I was crippled. I didn't know what to do. I had no idea where my phone was.
What's crazy is, and then you want to email someone and say, hey, can you call my number? But 9 times out of 10, I got the ringer off. So how's that gonna help? So hey, listen, I'm gonna tell you, I got a system. As soon as I come in the house, I put everything in one spot.
It's an adjustment period,
Right.
and people don't realize that how institutionalized that you are.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll give you like 3 quick examples.
Right.
And one was involving me. Like I was at Sam's, and I was ready to get my car, and a $5 bill like is going across the parking lot,
Right.
and I
Right.
picked it up, and
It
part
wasn't
of
on a
me,
fish line.
yeah, part of me is like it's my lucky day, and the other part of me is like, should I do a property form for this, or is this a setup? It's like that all that stuff that you've been ingrained, like because you just don't keep money you find,
Yeah.
and it's like that's a good rule of thumb as far as your ethics.
Right.
And I had another friend who he went to the gas station and because he retired.
Yeah.
He went to the gas station to get gas, and he freaking wrote the mileage down on his freaking hand because he's been doing it for like 20 years. Like those little institutionalized things.
Recorded so when he get to the city pump.
Yeah, well, but we do that as a whole, and that's instilled. And you might have had management say, hey, this is the best way to do this,
Right.
or you want to instill like, hey, if you find money, yeah, you don't, nothing, things that preserve your career.
Right.
Being on time. One guy was still setting his alarm like he had a off duty job to go to. He jumped up like I was like, oh, dude, it's like,
bro, I still do the same thing, man.
That's crazy, man.
I still do the same thing, and then I catch myself getting aggravated when I don't wake up at the time that I'll condition myself to wake up to.
Yeah, and that's that.
Or I even catch myself, no, I gotta get in bed.
But check this out.
Gotta
A lot of
rest.
it's you, but a lot of it is at some point some managerial aspect of
Right.
making you the person that you are
Yeah.
to be efficient. Because you're just describing efficiency,
Mhm.
waking up and not oversleeping, not
Right.
being late,
Mhm.
making sure your mileage is
Accountability.
down. Yeah, total accountability. It's ingrained.
And like I said, those are a couple of struggles with me. Who am I going to be accountable for?
Right.
My daughters are grown. They call and check up on me, but they got their stuff together. Who am I going to be accountable for?
Yeah, and just that whole identity thing.
Mhm.
Like you as far as the managerial systems and everything. Those are things that I think as far as your systems as management, people need to more train you or teach you how to transition because
Well,
no one will help you.
well, that's funny because eventually I want this to lead to that, where folks that are coming out of our profession, talking
Right.
to them, getting them lined up to incorporate all those skills. That's provided if they want to, seek another career after they get done. I'm looking forward to developing something for those individuals that are interested in my message to them that, hey, look, that was your previous career. You can develop yourself something coming out, and I can help you with that. And that's something that I want to get started for folks, for folks within the next couple of years. But first, I had to get myself lined up, and all the things that I've done so far, share that with people that are coming out of careers such as ours,
Yeah,
where they're
yeah.
young,
Well, I
and that
did.
includes military guys also.
Yeah. Well, one of the disservices, and I wish I had a better understanding. And I was watching it, and it happened to me, and it's where I call it a failure of overall management, including myself. Like I had you know how you have the influx of people that they're coming in, and when people are retiring out, and
Hmm.
attrition, and all that stuff. I had like 4 or 5 people that I supervised that retired.
Hmm.
Unless you were like a chosen one, like everybody,
Hmm.
but if you were just like a worker bee, this administration, the human resources department, and all that, they act like these are people that have been doing something for 20, 25 years.
Right.
There's no format on how to retire. There's a little thing, but nobody's ever retired before. So you kind of, I rented like a handful of people that they were almost like made to feel like dumbasses because they didn't know how to retire
Hmm.
because everything changed routinely.
Right.
If I had a guy, I did a memo for a guy, and this is as far as being in management. Did a memo, you know, you know, something's always wrong with a memo because nobody looks at the content. They're too worried about spacing and shit like that. So we finally get it right after going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Right.
It passes through. The next guy retires. All I do is change the freaking name, and it's wrong. It's like, why won't you just let people get out? Like you
Right.
still, you know what it's saying, and the spacing is too low, and this, that, and the other, and it's like let people go. It's stressful enough for them to retire,
Right.
and just don't add that extra stress. Like they all happen. It happened with me.
Yeah.
It happened with my boss that retired, and the people below me. Everybody had an issue. All the memos were wrong that were accepted a month before.
Because somebody came in and
Yeah, because everybody. One thing about cops, they all want to be like English majors. Like I don't give a damn if it's spelled wrong or not. It's like Charlie's retiring. That's all it really needs to say on this date.
yeah, they're the memorializers.
Yeah, it's like, come on, man. But that goes back to uh, another thing, the aspect of an adjustment that needs to be occurring in management. And it's more than just turn it on a personal level. There are people that psychologically scarred for leaving for no one's reason. Either they're tired of the profession,
Hmm.
or their drop time was up,
Yeah,
or there was always some circumstance. They're just not, you know,
they're mentally checked out.
yeah.
Right.
And help them check out is all I'm saying.
Well, I would tell anybody to follow my philosophy. I use both. I used it both when I got out of the military after 10 years, and I used it after I retired from the Marshal Service. A year out from the projected date that you want to leave, that you're expected to leave, you need to start preparing to leave
Yes.
because it comes up quick and you need to get your ducks in a row.
And no matter how prepared you are, it's still going to be scary.
Yes, and thank you for adding that. No matter how prepared you are, that journey is still unknown. So why not make it easier on yourself by prepping yourself ahead of time? You prep yourself in the morning, you wake up, you use the bathroom, you brush your teeth, you wash your face. Those are just normal practices that you routinely do.
Yep. And a preaching on just things that in the program, like just employees in general. You need a reason to get up in the morning. There's so many things that I don't want to make it sound like management needs to hold your hand about things, but a lot of things are just taken for granted.
Are you talking when you say you need something to do? Are you talking about
It's
employee while they're working or while, after
well,
they retire?
both actually.
Mhm.
Just like let somebody know what their duties are. Let let them be a professional in whatever they're let them do
Mhm.
their job. Don't hover. Don't
Right.
micromanage. Uh, Help them leave. Help the one of the best supervisors I've ever had. He was like he literally said, and this was like back in the '90s. He's like, my job is to help you go where you want to go.
Exactly.
And that was rare back then because a lot of people just want the worker bees to stay there as long as they
Right.
can, and
Mhm.
they don't care if you grow or not.
I've never held anybody back from Hey, oh, you want me to relay what to who? Not a problem.
Right.
Not a problem.
Yeah. I'm not act
Because
like you
because
betrayed if you got transferred.
what use are you to yourself and to the current team that you're on if you don't want to be there? What use are you?
Oh,
You're not valuable to yourself if you're not happy where you're at.
how
Why
many?
be in a relationship with something or someone or that you don't want to be in?
Well, my observations are, and the reason why I like what you're doing is because I think one thing I did not see before I left, just where I'm. I mean, I'm grateful to work where I work because it was like very diverse, but I didn't see a lot of people uh, reading a lot of leadership books
Mhm.
or going to. I would say going to like a command school or something, but it's not. It's like true leadership. I'm not talking about instant command, this, that, and all that. I'm not talking like processes of any agency or
Right.
business. I'm just saying as far as employee relations.
Well, I've been to a few of those um, I've attended a few of those courses and a few of those schools throughout my career, and everything that you learn in those leadership um, seminars or course learning,
Right?
you can apply that to your daily life.
You can.
You know, everything. I mean, not just you, not just your staff, but you can apply that to make your life easier and how you function and how you relate to people, both professionally and personally. The peer read show that I'm doing is not just for business; it's also for personal use. Because, like I said, we're both in a transformation, and um, and we have more time on our hands
Yeah, and more time to think.
and more time to think. And we're going to be associating with more